Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Sliding Scale podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. We have our first entrepreneur as our guest. And this is Dr. Ritika, and she and I were working in the same hospital when I was doing my residency. And even though we didn't actually meet, I ended up following her on social media, and she has built an entire community and a business from the ground up right out of MBBS, which is always inspiring. And today we're going to talk to her a little bit about the journey of an entrepreneur out of MBBS, and hopefully she can shed some insight for future doctor entrepreneurs.
Hopefully.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, Dr.
Thank.
Ritika, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I think first of all, thanks for having me here. Just to add to that intro, I think I'm also your junior. I think let's add that straight up. But I mean, my intro is pretty short. I have always been into medicine. I come from Bihar, and my parents are also doctors, and we have a hospital back there. So, since childhood, I've always been kind of into medicine. I literally live on top of a hospital. So I've seen my dad operate in operation theaters. My mom also is a gynecologist, to deliver kids since childhood. That's been one of my passions. And during COVID, when I was preparing for my post grad, suddenly it happened that I got to be more passionate about entrepreneurship, and I figured out a way where I felt like there was a huge gap in India for healthcare, especially for youngsters, I believe, like people like me, young doctors, but also youngsters, that I was not really able to resonate with any healthcare at that point of time. And that's when we started Rocket Health. It's essentially a healthcare brand for millennials and Gen Zs. Right now, we're heavily into mental health. So anything related to mental health online, under the hood, we kind of can help you with. But yeah, it's been 2 years of building that. Now we're a team of 90 plus people, I think. It's been an interesting journey. I mean, it's just the beginning. It's very beginning, I would say. But I think long way to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy for you to say that it's just the beginning, but from someone who has, of course, no entrepreneurial experience, and also someone who has been entrenched in the field of medicine, building a community of like-minded people, of 90 people spanning across the country, and being able to scale that is to me a huge accomplishment. So kudos to you and your team on that. But how does it feel to have gone into an entrepreneurial venture right out of MBBS, especially coming from a family of doctors?
I think it feels pretty amazing to sum it up, but there are a lot of nuances, right? Like, I think it also comes from my parents. My dad has been very entrepreneurial in his journey. We undermine doctors that they're not entrepreneurial, but I feel every doctor is entrepreneurial in the end, right? Like, they have their own private setup, which they grow. A lot of doctors are building hospitals. So there are so many entrepreneurs in doctor community itself, which we can take examples of. The scale might be different, but I think it's all in our DNA, and it should be also. Because I feel even in medicine, you kind of require that building things from scratch. So I've seen my dad do it, and I've always liked it. Like, we didn't have anything, and now we have like a small nursing home in Gaya, Bihar. So that kind of like gave me an inspiration. But I've been very lucky, I would say. I was actually heads down preparing for my post grad during
Mm.
COVID. But when second wave kind of hit us, I feel that was a pivoting point for me. My exams got postponed, so I had some time in hand. And I just fortunately enough thought my brother was also back home. So we thought that we'll just ship out a website, help out some people during COVID. And we did that. And since the situation was so bad during that time that it escalated a lot, like a lot of people shared it on social media. We got featured on a few news channels, and everything felt really nice because we were helping so many people. I think in just 3 weeks that time, we helped like 5,000 patients via
Oh,
teleconsultations, which was a
wow.
huge thing. So
Yeah.
that just gave me a very big gratification. I was like, okay, in medicine also, you have to put sleepless nights, you have to put like 16 hours of work, and I'm really passionate there. But this is something where, without any hesitation, I can put in my hours, and I can see myself doing this very happily for a really long time. So I thought, okay, let's take a leap of faith. For me, fortunately, I didn't have a lot of doubts. My mother still wants me to do post grad, but fortunately, like my dad's been very supportive. My mother's also very supportive, but I think I've just been lucky, I would say.
No, I get it. And like you said, you have to be able to, without a thought, put in that kind of time and effort, especially when you're
Yeah.
starting out, in order for you to be able to see any kind of tangible result. And some people, despite putting in that kind of effort, don't see
Yeah.
results quite as quickly. And yeah, I think there were, of course, apart from the hard work, there were a lot of other factors that seem to have helped you ride the wave to where you guys are now. So of course, as part of your MBBS, you went through internship and you had to go through a lot of rigorous textbook learning as well. Do you feel like any of those skills that you learned in MBBS have translated into your journey as an entrepreneur?
Of course, I think massively. And not just mine. So we also have a teammate who's an MBBS student, and I also see him translating a lot of like similar stuff. I feel when you study medicine, first of all, I mean, you study medicine with passion. If somebody does not have that passion, even in medicine, I don't think like, you can put in that many years to do something which you don't really like. So I think you learn that, okay, passion is something which is really important when you're choosing your profession. But more than that, I feel something which MBBS gave me was resilience
Oh yeah,
and a lot of consistency. Like you have to show up no matter what in classes for exams. You can't just think that, okay, I'll just ace the exam by studying a week prior, right? You have to study months prior to actually do well. Rather not well, I would say just pass in exams. So I
yeah,
feel it humbles you a lot. And I mean, even in internship, I would say you learn that nothing is small. You have to do everything. So I think
correct.
that translates everywhere, even if you're doing a business. Today is end of the month and I finished my payroll. I feel like, everything I can do in the business also, and I don't feel anything is small. Even tomorrow, if I have to be in the customer support end, I would do that. That is something which comes out of medicine, I feel. And resilience, like I said, that is something which is very important. You put in a lot of grind and it just shapes you in a way that you are ready to take pressure,
Correct.
I feel.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think those qualities are hammered into us as doctors, and because we see so many of our peers also have those qualities, we kind of take them lightly. We don't really understand how difficult it is to build those qualities for other people, like showing
Yeah.
up every day, no matter what. And that could be a toxic thing for sure, but also at the same time, just still showing up despite the toxicity every day is something that we have as a community ingrained. And I think
Yeah.
definitely that's something that will translate well into any other venture.
Yeah.
Um,
Just to
so
add to that,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I also feel since I'm a doctor and now I'm into health tech specifically, that translates really well because I understand the back end of it, of what the patient experiences or what the doctor experiences. So I've actually seen healthcare and then diving into health tech gives me a better understanding. And I think it also translates into the company's language of how we interact with our users and patients. How do we make it like patient centric? We're not trying to sell anything. We're actually trying to provide you with treatment of something. So I think that really helps me because I also see other entrepreneurs get into health tech who are not from the background, but sometimes they're very clueless on how to navigate through health. I
yeah,
think health is a domain where you can't be selling anything. You
yeah.
really have to provide someone with actually like feel better, feel good solution, or something which changes their life. Because apart from that, I mean, people won't buy anything which is not really helping them in any way.
No, you're absolutely right. I think one of the things that you kind of learn as you go through clinical practice is that more than a service, you are just providing this feeling. And some people call it hope, some people call it positivity. People have different names for it. But the thing is, it's nothing that you provide as a doctor can be quantified in terms of like money or numbers. And we try really hard to say, okay, like, these are your labs and now they're better than before. but people don't really resonate with numbers when it comes to their health as much as they resonate with just feeling better. And that ability to make people feel better is not something that's taught, unfortunately. It's something that you learn as you go through. So, like you said, it's not about selling like your time or your whatever your service. It's about making sure that whatever you're doing, whether it's your time or you're giving some advice or counseling, it's about making sure that your patients feel good. And you're right, if someone's not from the background, it's very difficult to make that connection and push forward. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you've apart from Rocket Health, you've also been actively involved in building communities through your Join Warehouse venture. Would you like to talk a little bit about it and how it has changed your perspective?
I think Warehouse is a community which is like personal to me and my brother. Both of us are co-founders of the company at the moment. And it's also separate. Warehouse, I mean, we moved to Bangalore in 2021 towards the end. And if you come to Bangalore, there are a lot of folks from startup ecosystem which you meet every
Mm,
day. And there are a lot of networking happening, which does not happen in medicine. Like you actively meet people who can help you in any way or whom you can help, which doesn't happen in medicine. So we have a lot of networking events, but we felt like something non-transactional was missing, something where people can actually just make friends and interact without any transactions, without asking for anything. And I think Warehouse is just an attempt to do that. It's a very curated small community in Bangalore offline. We host like monthly events, and I love that. I think a lot of people just regularly come in. We meet each other every month. It kinds of helps us a lot. I feel it gives a sense of belonging. I can also ask help to them. I mean, if someone's also a founder, maybe a level above me, level ahead of me in the journey, or level behind me in the journey, I think we can help each other out without any hesitation. That's there for sure. Apart from Warehouse, we also have a community on Rocket Health. It's called Cancel Stigma. It's essentially to cancel stigma for mental health. It's on Discord. It's completely free for everyone to join. And I feel that's a 6,000 member community actually on Discord,
oh wow.
where, yeah, I feel loneliness is a huge thing these
Oh my
days.
God. Yeah, it
And
definitely is.
yeah, so you'll see people talking to each other over there, like a lot of peer to peer conversations happen. We also host a lot of support groups over there. People who take in therapy or, who've never been exposed to therapy can also get a glimpse of what minutely a professional help can look like.
That's awesome. And I think something that doctors sort of leave behind once they get through their medical education is this idea of having to build a community, whether it's a community of professional peers or a community of the patients that they're treating. I think the most successful doctors that I've met are people who have been able to build that community, and the community has been able to reinforce their belief in this particular person. And unfortunately, that's another thing that people take for granted until very late in their journey. And then, once they decide to do it, it's quite difficult to
True.
organically build a community.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you've also, of course, through Rocket Health, you've been intimately involved with the mental health space. What do you think are the lacunae in mental health care that we face today?
I think on the majority of thing which I would like to highlight would be stigma for sure. Even though I
Yeah.
feel as we've progressed, like through COVID, I think a lot of people these days actually talk about mental health very openly, even on social media. But I still feel it's very surface level. If you go deep down, if you go in like actual houses or you see generations ahead, right? Not everyone is very open to mental health, and I feel that stigma still persists. I come from a very small town in Bihar. Over there, also, I feel, people, they don't want to be seen going to a psychiatrist. That stigma, I mean, is like, okay, you're going to a pagalon ke doctor. I think like that stigma still needs to go away, and there's a long way to go there. It's becoming better, which is great. I feel, especially with Gen Zs, they see someone going for therapy and they're like, okay, probably I should give it a try. But I feel like the level is that therapy should be taken, or mental health should be taken as physical health is today. That level, if I perceive, the stigma is like way ahead, and we really need to catch up there.
Yeah,
But we're getting there. So I'm very positive about that.
yeah. And so, apart from this, what have you found, apart from the stigma, what, in your opinion, has been the biggest hurdle for people to come and get mental health support?
I would say accessibility is also one of the major things. Like, even if you feel like you need help, you don't know where to go at times. And if you see just in general in healthcare, there's a lot of shift in tier one cities, but tier two, tier three cities sometimes take a step back. Good doctors sometimes just end up in tier one cities. Very few doctors choose to go back to their hometowns, where few doctors like would stay in a tier two and tier three city, which kind of creates a disbalance, I would say. So that accessibility also is required, especially when you want to cater to like entire India, or just looking at a very broader level. So I feel we need to make it more accessible, more affordable, but at the same time, like give amazing quality. So for that, I feel um, just broader level again, healthcare, how we have lesser number of doctors per person in India, right? Similarly, even in mental health, psychiatrists are way lesser than the population of India requires, or psychologists are also way lesser than the population of India requires. So I feel a lot of training is required over there, and a lot of training with practical knowledge is required, and not just theoretical.
Yeah, I think like you said, that disparity between the distribution of doctors within tier one cities and tier two and three cities is huge. I myself come from a small town, but I have ended up settling in Chennai, which is, like you said, a tier one city. And it's of course not because there are better opportunities here. If anything, Chennai is massively saturated. But everything from the pay scale to the lifestyle seems to be better here. And so for someone who's starting their career, it just seems like a better option. I just feel like a lot of people, myself included, are afraid to go back to their hometowns where there are already established people, a smaller population to cater to, and it is a little daunting. But like you said, from a patient perspective, I definitely think that new blood is needed to change that stigma and to close that gap.
Yeah. I would say,
Yeah, go ahead.
I kind of lost you there for a second. I would say that on a primary level, being online helps. Like for us, at least, it helps. So we can cater to tier one, tier two, tier three city.
Mm,
All our doctors can be in any city. Our psychologists can be in any city, but they can help anyone across India. So we'll have people from Northeast also coming, people from Kerala also coming, people from Rajasthan also coming. So all across India. So I feel like being online, but I would say like that's only primary and secondary degree of help which we can provide. Again, like tertiary support is also required, which cannot be given online.
yeah. So as someone who has jumped from entrepreneurship, jumped from medicine into entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
do you ever feel you're out of place, or did you feel out of place or out of your depth when you started? And if you did, how did you deal with it?
Fortunately, I never did. There's a saying that no one really knows what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah,
Everyone
that's
is
true.
just pretending to know. Everyone is just trying out. I think in entrepreneurship, you just try out more openly, more in public. So even if you fail, it's in public.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. I think you should, whatever you're trying next, right? Be it in medicine, be it in entrepreneurship, anything new, I feel personally, me, I don't hesitate asking silly questions so that I
Mm.
learn about it. And I feel I'm at an age where, people just help me out with answers. I feel when you're young, you can ask ton of questions and get away with it. That's the biggest thing. I think age is on in my favor at the moment. Everyone sees me that okay, I'm a doctor moving to entrepreneurship. So everyone is ready to help me out. So I ask ton of questions, but I feel it's sort of like learning on the go. I learn new things every day. I don't think even person coming from MBA who might have done MBA and will build a company, they'll also learn everything each day, right? It's a new set of problems. It's like
Right. Right.
more practical knowledge. Like in medicine, when you actually start dealing with patients, you learn something different. It's very similar. When you actually start building a company, it's different than what you actually read in degrees, I feel.
Mm.
So it's a very evolving process. I feel right now we're a small team. Tomorrow, as we're growing, I mean, I'll keep on learning every day, I think, a new thing. So that's definitely there. But yeah, I don't think anyone knows what they're doing. I think you should just try your luck, be
Yeah.
out there, be ready to fail though.
Yeah, I think that mentality is something that I feel doctors lack is first of all the ability to ask questions when you don't know stuff, because I think that's something that's not actively discouraged, but definitely not encouraged in an MBBS setting is asking questions, having the courage to look dumb in front of your peers is something that has to be painfully learned for us. And the other thing is failing. And sometimes, like you said, you guys, entrepreneurs in general, like fail spectacularly. Like recently, for example, that Zomato thing happened where they decided they were going to change the
Yeah.
uniform. And, that was a good idea. But there was no way they could have known that it was going to blow up in their face. But and they recovered, and life goes on. But I feel like if there was a doctor in that position, just having to make that decision would have been nerve wracking. Is to put yourself out there in public like that is definitely hard. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. You have to be ready to fail publicly if you want to be able to do this well. So that leads us to our last question, which is if what advice, if any, do you have for people who are interested in entrepreneurship from a medical background?
Um, I think there are two paths. One is straight up, you know what you are really interested in and you jump in and you've gotten the right opportunity. Like feel for me that happened and I jumped in. The second part is you don't know, but you want to explore entrepreneurship, but you're not really sure in what domain you want to go to, or you've not found the right problem to solve for, or what exactly you want to do. For that, I would say there are a lot of startups out there in health tech. There are a lot of early stages company. Reach out to them, learn from them, intern with them, work with them. We actually have an intern who's an MBBS student working with us who keeps on learning a lot every day. I feel that hunger is kind of required if you want to get into this. And there are a lot of things like ERP systems. Start with health tech if that is something which is exciting, or if you want to do something entirely different, you can also try that out. But in health tech, also, I would say like there are a lot of examples. They're like um, patient record systems which are being managed by tech companies. A lot of AI work is being done in radiology, in pathology. I feel like radiology won't be the same in the next in actually the coming years, I would say. And even pathology, I think I wouldn't say it'll replace doctors, but it would be a massive help to doctors.
Mm,
So more and more higher degree of knowledge would be required, more in-depth knowledge would be required as a doctor to kind of cater to those issues and screen patients, and those would be more relevant. And a lot of primary screening would be done by AI itself, even in pathology, even in radiology. There are a lot of AI startups in India, in US, where you can actually, reach out, intern, learn from them. Um, I feel Twitter as a medium and podcasts as a medium is amazing these days. I feel everyone's creating content. By that, I feel also they're also sharing a glimpse of their lives online, which shows a lot. You can actually learn a lot from them. In India, I mean, you can learn about like Zerodha founder. You can actually see their podcast. You go to Twitter, you follow the right people from startup ecosystem. They actually tweet really informative things which you learn from. I feel so. Pick up these things. Pick up books. There's a course on Y Combinator. Y Combinator is a very popular accelerator for startups. So Paul Graham is the founder of it, and he's written a lot of essays. I suggest everyone, like be it an entrepreneur or not, to go through it. I feel um, it inspires you in a way. Even if you are into medicine, I think you should just give it a read. I think that's all. You should just learn from these modes and like apply it somewhere until you figure out what you're really passionate about. I meet a lot of people now who are health tech investors, who doctors actually who've turned into investors, who run funds around health tech companies. I meet a lot of people who are into health tech consulting. So it's not just a linear path these days, where in medicine you have to do postgrad. I feel like there are a lot of options out there. Go out on LinkedIn, reach out to these people. I think uh, if you reach out to 20 people, at least two people would be ready to help you out. So just take that, uh, try that out, I would say.
Yeah, I think that that ability to just reach out to people um, is hard to come by in doctors. I'll be honest, because it's difficult for me even when I reach out to people to say, you know, like, why don't you come and have a chat with me on this podcast? It's there's that fear of rejection is always there, and it's huge. So I get it, and I think that's incredible advice. I hope that other people will not follow in your footsteps, but at least take some inspiration from you, and we have much better healthcare, much more accessible healthcare digitally in the coming years. So thank you so much, Ritika, for coming in and talking to us today and taking time off from your busy schedule. So yeah, did you have any closing comments or any last minute things that you wanted to say?
I think, yeah, I think we need a lot more doctors coming into tech, because
Mm.
there are very few doctors overall in general for the population. So we need a lot of tech to actually help out and support doctors, also like with new technology. So I would encourage people to kind of take that route if they like it, if they're passionate about it, for sure. But thanks for you. Thanks to build this podcast. I feel in medicine, I don't see a lot of people actually do something apart from just practicing. So I feel I also take a lot of inspiration from you that you're actually doing this, and it helps spread the word across, I feel, for doctors. And it also shows your passion on different things which you're interested in. So I'm glad that you
Oh
reached
no,
out.
yeah, no, I think it was just a matter of telling the stories of people that come out of, you know, medical education in general. And like you said, now people are diversifying, doing a lot of other cool, fun things, and just going and doing a postgraduate degree and grinding away for the rest of your life, which is great for some people, and people really find their stride in that kind of work.
Yeah,
But for a lot of other people, myself included, I find a lot of passion in helping people, but I also feel like there are so many nice things, other fun things that people are doing, and I think uh, people should at least be aware, if nothing
exactly.
else.
I feel
So
internet does
yeah,
that, right? Like I feel
yeah,
the
definitely,
awareness kind
definitely.
of, it's easy to become an entrepreneur right now than like 5 years ago. It's easy for me to reach out to anyone. It's easy for me to learn things now. So I feel that
Yeah,
helps.
absolutely. And I think the content creator economy sort of really turned the tables for everyone. And I think if as doctors we don't sort of catch up, we're just going to get left in the dust.
Oh,
So
there's so many doctors who are creating content and I love it.
yeah, no, absolutely. But I think that I feel like there's still a lot more. I mean, I feel like there are so
Yeah.
many. Yeah, there needs to be a lot more
I'm
doctors out
sure a
there.
startup is coming wherein they're gonna help doctors create their own personal
Yeah,
brands online. Because I feel every doctor would kind of require that 5 years down the
definitely,
line. Yeah.
definitely. Right. So thanks so much again, Ritika. Cheers.
Thank
I
you.
hope you have a good weekend.